Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Joel. So, today we're on episode 44. And before I tell you what this topic is about, I want to welcome two guests to my channel. They are both new to this podcast, and I'm definitely excited to have both of them on here. So, I want to introduce y'all to them before I tell you what we're going to talk about. So, I want to first welcome Jeffin to this channel. I actually met him on United Young, which if y'all don't know what United Young is by now, you have not been watching my episodes because I've had numerous people from United Young on my podcast, and I'm glad to have both of y'all here because spoiler alert, that's where I met Brittany as well. So welcome to my channel, Jeff, and it's good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Joel, for having me. It's been great. Hi, guys. I'm glad to, be a guest at this podcast. My name is Jeffin. Definitely born in India, but came to America when I was like a very young baby. Served in the military, and now I actually do financial planning for a lot of families in North America. I can't wait to meet everybody in person one day, right? Thank you so much. Back to you.
Yes, thank you for that. First, thank you for your service also. And then also, I've been seeing your TikToks on the whole like finance stuff. So I've been looking at those every now and then. And eventually, we do want to get into talking later on down the road about being financially smart. So I definitely look forward to having him on that
No
in the
problem.
future.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. So, and also, as far as our other new guest, welcome, Brittany. It's good to have you as well.
Hey everyone, thank you, Joel, for having me. Yes, I did meet Joel on United Young, which is so cool. It was a really great app to be able to connect with other believers who follow Christ. And so, yes, I work in higher education. So I'm a higher ed professional and I'm a coordinator at the university in my hometown. And so I'm really glad to be here and be a part of this conversation.
Yes, I'm so glad that you were here, and I'm glad that Jeffin's here, and I'm glad that we're going to get to talk about this topic because this is a topic that
Yeah.
everybody can relate to at some point, whether they are currently in that place or not. We can still all relate to this topic. So now everybody's probably wondering what is the topic. So here we go. Today's topic is going to be on singleness. So I can definitely relate to this because I am still single, single as a Pringle and still being patient, waiting for my future spouse. So I thought I would talk to somebody that is currently married, and then also talking to someone else that is single, but from a female perspective. So I think that would be awesome just to hear everybody's perspective on this topic and even things to look forward to when I am no longer single, or things to prepare for when I am no longer single. So I think that's going to be it's going to be a very good conversation. I'm looking forward to this. So I do have like a question that comes to mind. So when you think of like the idea of being single, like I guess for Jeff, and since he's currently married, I'm going to ask him to take us back to before he was married. So for both of y'all, when it comes to being single, do you look at being single as a good thing or a bad thing, or does sometimes each day differ? Like, do you sometimes think like, oh, like I'm glad to be single at this point, or do you sometimes have those moments where it's like, oh, like I wanna be married?
I see. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joel, for the question. This is number one thing for me when I was single, I guess, and being able to kind of like work on yourself, right? So as a Catholic man, right, like being able to have a strong faith is very important, and being able to have like family perspectives is important. So for me, I was even when I was dating at that time, I was looking for like a relationship where the family is important, faith is important, and being able to put everything in place. And that was, that foundation really when it comes to a good marriage and when it comes to long lasting marriages in families and things like that. So I think it's not really the day where, hey, like today I feel like, oh man, I wish I was married. I wish I was dating today. I wish I was, seeing somebody. Honestly, when it first for me, I kind of started to build on myself, I kind of took some time away from the military, kind of, recoup back, becoming a civilian, and kind of build a career, right? And I started with that. Then, of course, like the faith is very important. I think, especially on this channel, we talk about, religion and I mean, we could have a lot of people who might not be even Christians who are listening to this podcast, but anybody out there, whoever you believe in, when it comes to getting married and being able to be having a strong foundation, faith is number one. And definitely you have to have a plan for yourself, right? Don't just date around to date around, right? Don't just because time is ticking. We're all going to be 30s, 40s, 50s eventually. And the longer that you stay in matrimony, of course, it's fun. You can build your family. But to answer your question, I'm not going to take too much time. It's definitely faith. And those earlier days was very important to build those foundations to be married today. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Good like mindset to have is just being prepared for like, knowing what to expect out of your, or like what you want out of your future spouse. Like you said, faith is very important to you, which definitely is important to me as well. Wanting to find somebody that loves Jesus more than me, someone that puts, God at the center of their life, and definitely want to prepare myself for the right person and not just date just to date, but like date with a purpose and with good intentions and and all that. So it's definitely good to like prepare for those moments for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Brittany, you got any input?
I think he answered that really well. Did similar things. I'm still single, obviously, but being intentional with their singleness is very important. But I've definitely had moments where I'm like, oh, I don't want to be single right now. But then at the same time, I love my singleness. So I have like, I've had the moment where I'm like, yeah, I do want to date, or I do want to be in a committed relationship, or I do want to be married. And then I have moments where I'm just like, I'm seriously enjoying my single life to the best. And I enjoy being single. I enjoy my singleness. But I do have a desire for marriage in the future. But like Jeffin said, it's important right now to just kind of be focused and have a focused approach when it comes to dating, and looking for people that have the same values and faith. And I won't keep reiterating what he just said, but everything he said was perfect. And yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Brittany. Just to piggyback on real quick, Brittany, what you said, I'm glad that you kind of spotlight on like taking time, because a lot of people jump ship, and that's dangerous too when it comes to, right, commitment.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people are that type where they just want to get married. Like, they may have a, like, for example, I'm gonna be 30 years old next year. So like somebody that may be 29 like me may be thinking, oh, I want to get married in my 20s. I gotta find my wife or my, for women, my husband before I turn 30. And then
Right.
they start getting into this mindset of, just finding anybody and like, okay, you're my wife, like you're gonna be my wife. So, it could be that could be very damaging in the long run, because if you don't have that true love for that person, and if you're just in it just to say you have a wife, then long term you may end up separating, unfortunately, unless God really does something big in that relationship. But most of the time when people rush into those kind of things, it ends up not being good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I actually just like, now that you mentioned that about like, some people jumping ship when it comes to like relationships, I started thinking about how some people are so quick to jump ship to ship. Like they're the type that like they are in a relationship with somebody, and then they get single, and they're like, oh, like I miss my boo. And then it's like 3 days later they have a new boo. It's like, wait, hold on, like what is all this about? So it's like, what, I guess like there's so many reasons I could go to this, but like, why do you feel like some people are that type where they can't even be alone for even like 3 days?
Man, that's such a tough topic. Go ahead, Brittany.
Um, you know, I personally have not been one of those people, but we do want to extend grace to those who have been in those situations. But I think it really it depends on the situation. But some people genuinely are just not used to being alone or not used to being in a relationship. So it almost feels like, you know, when you're shifting from being in a relationship to not being in a relationship, there can be like that grieving process, but almost that disconnecting process where you kind of feel like, oh, like no one's contacting me. I don't have anyone to be, you're used to someone checking up on you all the time or maybe going out with you. So it is different. And some people may not be used to that dissonance, that gap. And then they're like, okay, something's wrong. I gotta, you know, or they're not, taking the time to really discern who's really supposed to be in their life too, because it may not be them just wanting to be in a relationship. People could just be coming, one after the next. So if then like, you know what, sure, why not? I like them, they like me. So I can't really speak fully on their behalf, but I do want to extend grace to those people, but also give them the courage to see like, hey, it's okay to be by yourself and take some time to yourself, take some time to heal from that previous relationship before just going into the next one, taking some time to date yourself, go out to eat by yourself, go to the movies by yourself. It's kind of weird, but it's possible and it's actually really fun, just enjoying your own company and resetting with the Lord. That's really important if they're a believer. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that I think you've brought up a really good point of like giving grace to people that are in those times of their lives where some people are just so used to having somebody to rely on. So not everybody's used to the idea of being alone, which I guess that can almost be like in a way like a fear of being alone and like not wanting to I don't know, just do those kind of activities by themselves. But it could be like really beneficial in a way too. Like sometimes for me, like hiking, that's definitely something that sometimes I like going with somebody like a friend, but then there are times where I enjoy just like having time with myself. I may put on some headphones and just do some walking and just enjoy the peacefulness that goes with that. So there are definitely some benefits to that, and for those people that have a struggle with being alone, maybe just having, if I had to like bring any kind of advice, maybe just be open-minded to like doing things by yourself. Nobody cares if you're sitting there by yourself at dinner. Like, I mean, you are having dinner with you yourself, and
Usually they feel bad for you anyway, and you'll get like free stuff.
there you go. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot of people kind of like miss that part, right? Like going to a restaurant, like you kind of feel like anxiety and like all this anxiousness coming up. But honestly, like I never did that because I don't know how it feel. But even you haven't thought about that. It's like, oh my God, is it gonna be weird? Like if I go sit at the restaurant by myself, but what will people think, right? Like, and we live in a society where that constant 24/7 clock, it's like, hey, who's looking at me? Why is he looking at me? Am I weird? Like it's like a constant battle. But we got to just take a deep breath and like say, you know what, it's okay.
Yes.
You
The first
know?
time I went out by myself, I was like, oh my gosh, this is weird. And they kept asking me, are you sure there's no one else coming? I was like, it's just for one person.
No, but
But it's uncomfortable, but you get used to it. Like after you
I mean,
kind of
you
think
can
of
you can
things to
sit at
do.
the bar top, right? Or like the because usually
No,
there's like
I
a
sat
space
at a
and
real table.
oh wow, like okay, they probably
But the
question
bar is easier because it's easy. That's where everyone's sitting, by themselves.
exactly.
But I sat at a real table by myself. I brought my Bible. I brought a book to read. I was like, I'm just gonna read.
Yeah, if you go to like a Starbucks or like a cafe, it's pretty normal. Everybody's plugged in, headphones, Bible, book, laptop, they're locked in. Or at the gym too. I mean, if you guys know, there's
Yeah. But I
people
was
who
at
live
like no real restaurants.
real
Like
man. That's tough.
like I don't know, like Cheddar's. Where else did I go? I like going by myself. Taco sushi, just random stuff, places. Just try it, you guys. It's actually fun. It's uncomfortable the first time, though. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can definitely speak from experience as well because like now I'm so used to doing it. Like I don't mind going to like a fast food restaurant by myself and sitting there, and sometimes that gives me time to get into the word, or even like even getting to message people back, because sometimes I could take a little bit to message somebody back. Sometimes I don't feel as motivated in some moments to, like, I don't feel like texting. So I was like, I'm just gonna wait until like I'm ready, which I don't wait too long. But anyways, those are like moments where like I can be able to respond to people. But at first when I started like trying to go by myself to eat, I was definitely like very paranoid, where like I started like doing the whole day like looking around like, oh shoot, like that person just looked over here like I'm like they're probably thinking, oh, poor lonely guy sitting over there, like. But that almost kind of in a way started like messing with like it's my a mental mental like mindset, and like I guess it could almost bring like a insecurity in a way in my life, just start thinking like, is this always going to be what I do? Like, am I always going to be out and about by myself, like with nobody to sit with? Like, and so then I started having those kind of things. But that's where the enemy comes into play,
Wow.
because the enemy likes to come in and tell you these things, on which not everybody is meant to get married. I do hope that my desire to get married does happen, but if not, then I know that God has a different plan for me. But some reason, those insecurities will every now and then come in my head, and so if I'm being honest, I guess that's where I first was going into it, when it came to like going to eat out by myself or go to the movies by myself. But one big thing, like outside of like not having somebody, like as far as a girlfriend or a wife, I guess one big thing that's helped me get through it is like having a big family. So like I'm able to do a lot of activities with my family. So as far as like eating out by myself, it's pretty rare. So I guess that's good for me in that case.
Thanks
That's
for your
great.
vulnerability.
Yeah, good to hear that.
Yeah, so like that's sometimes the singleness, it can be hard for me to take in sometimes, because I do start thinking about like, then I almost start comparing myself to like some of my siblings, because like some of my siblings have got married like early 20s, like a lot of them got married in their early 20s, or one of my siblings even got married at 18. So it's like then I start compare myself to them. Sometimes I start thinking like, I'm 29, nobody in sight. I'm thinking like, where is like, is there anybody out there for me? And then like, so that's kind of where the whole idea of like the enemy comes in and tries to kick me while I'm down, I guess. Like if I'm mentally down or emotionally down, that's where the enemy wants to come in and try to put things in my head that like, you don't have anybody because of this reason. That maybe it's there's a whole bunch of like things I could go into that. But yeah, so as I guess just I start even comparing myself to like even my own family, thinking like, like, what am I doing wrong? Which, and really in reality, I'm not doing nothing wrong. It's just not my time yet. It's just the idea of just having to be patient. That's something that I still have to work on. I feel
But
like I'm.
Joel, sorry to cut you off, but see, the thing is for you, right, Joel? Like, I noticed that you like your hobby of like traveling. And we were just talking about it right before Brittany came on, right? Like I think instead of like comparing, you're already doing the right activity for you to kind of like enjoy life, basically. Hey, maybe you don't know. God might have a plan. You're traveling in the other part of the world doing some charity work. God might have your future wife right there next to you, right? It could be a spark of a dinner or glass of water. We don't know, but like I'm glad that you're doing that. I mean, look at the pictures on the wall. We were talking about this earlier, and like even on Facebook and stuff. Like I see you, like you were at New York recently, right? I think you got a great time up there. I think you're doing the right thing. And when it comes to family, I mean, family's always going to be there for us, no matter what, right? Uh, bad things, good things, but the important things for you, I mean, I think you just mentioned like you're turning 30 next year, right? I'm actually younger than you. I'm literally 27. I think turning 28 coming up, right? And being able to I was like, man, like, am I too young to get married? That was my concern. But then again, the time was right. I, wanted to make sure like the plan that we have set in place is good. But more importantly, are we making the right decision to make a big commitment? Because I don't think now I can commit to like traveling like that you do. Right now, if I travel, I gotta take my +1, right? My wife. So that changes the dynamics of a lot of things as well, right? So I mean, definitely count your blessings, guys. Take your time. Don't worry.